wonderful speakers today that will have some great insights for us. Mike Malone grew up in Fayetteville, went on to Hendrix, graduate of Hendrix, like Ed Nicholson and others. And a lot of great talent comes from Hendrix, if you notice. And then went on to the University of Minnesota, and then went to work with President Clinton for several years with the White House, and then I think Daschle and some other Senate positions. And we were very fortunate about 13 or so years ago, Mike, when the Northwest Arkansas Council was looking to replace Uvalde Lindsay, and Mike took the position, and we recruited him, and he did one heck of a job. You know, he did the first development plan that we ever had for the region. It's kind of like a strategic plan for the region, but it was all encompassing. And he had talked Lee Scott into doing it. He had 4 or 5 bosses there for a while that were like Lee Scott, Jim Walton, Donnie Smith. He had like the best bosses 1 year at a time, right, Mike? And just did a wonderful job. So the reason I believe that the development plan that we see today every year that gets renewed by the Northwest Arkansas Council is as robust as it is because of Mike's headiness and his ability to maneuver public, private sector. And then the Walton, two of Jim's boys, Tom and Steuart, recruited Mike to come up and join them. And he's, you know, they're doing so many amazing things. And I know we're all grateful for what they do. And so Mike, with that, good to see you. Thank you for being willing to come on to our Zoom call. And we look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. It's good to see everybody. So many familiar faces. I just wish I could see you all in person, but we'll take this for now. And in a few months, hopefully we'll all be back together again. I love being with the CEO Forum, the members and alumni, and participated in CEO Forum 2 for many years, and really helped me a lot, and loved all of that. So thank you for letting me come back from time to time. I appreciate it, Tim. What I thought I'd do is give an overview of some of the work we're doing at Runway Group, which is Tom and Steuart Walton's development organization that's investing in making Northwest Arkansas the best place to live and work in all of the United States. That's our goal. It's a big, bold, ambitious goal. And this region takes on and tackles big things. So I think we can do it. And we made some progress. We got a long way to go, but it's a goal that I do think is attainable, and we're starting to get more and more attention because we're driving toward that. So I'm excited to talk about it. I'm happy though, if anybody has any questions or any topics that you want me to spend more time on, or topics you want me to spend less time on, as long as there's something left for me to talk about, I'd take your guidance and your input, because I want it to be useful for everybody. So I guess before I start, I'll just open it up. Is there anything on anybody's mind that you definitely want to talk about, or you want me to hit as I go through a few slides here?
Mike, I enjoy how you weave the region and the region's development and your insights of the region into the Walton's, Tom and Steuart's plan. They have their own plan that's kind of parallel, right? I love hearing about how that all came together and how that's working, and your thoughts on all that.
All right. Well, I'll take that input, because that's usually how I organize it. So thank you for that. What else? Any other questions, thoughts?
I got something for you at the end, but it's longer term.
All right. Well, I'll jump in, but raise your hand or just speak up and interrupt me, because I love for this to be interactive. Don't let me put you to sleep, or in 30 minutes from now say, gosh, I wish I'd have interrupted him because he didn't talk about what I wanted to hear. So let me see if I can call this up. Got a few slides. We've got a new format that we just launched, so you're the first one to see this. There might be a typo or two. So again, I work for the Runway Group, which is the parent company for Tom and Steuart Walton to really help manage their investments. And their investments often are for-profit investments, and I'll go through some examples there. But they make philanthropic investments. We're working in the public policy arena, trying to make sure that we've got engaged and informed officials that are in appointed and elected positions, and we work with them often as well. So it's a multifaceted strategy, not only for-profit businesses, but on multiple fronts, again, to make Northwest Arkansas the best metro area in the country. Let me hide some of these photos. Okay. So I'll start right out with some of the accolades and facts about the region. And I'm going to highlight here the U.S. News and World Report. They do every other year or so, they've been doing a ranking of Northwest Arkansas, and we've never finished lower than we did this year. And this year we finished 8th on their list of about 100. And I think they're ranking up to 150 metro areas now. When they started, it was around 100. Last year it was 125. I think it's up to 150 this year. And so there are more communities or metro areas in the competition for their ranking. But we've always done well. We've always been in the top 8. And it's because they rate on a bunch of different factors like value, job growth, quality of life factors, and those kind of things. We do really well on most of those factors. But they have one data point that they use, and it's this fairly subjective category called desirability. And that's, they just go out and they poll people and they say, here's a list of metros. Which one would you like to live in or visit? And I think y'all, if you've heard me talk anytime, either formal presentations or even informally, you probably heard me say Arkansas has got a reputational issue. And if we don't solve that, or if we don't figure out how to overcome that, then a lot of the other good work we're going to do isn't going to get as much credit. And I think that's what's playing out there on this data point where we rank real low on desirability. We're lower than like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm sure that's a nice town, but I don't understand why they're considered more desirable on this U.S. News ranking. So that really is a lot of the motivation for why we're building and doing the projects and initiatives we're doing, and why we're doing them at such a level of quality, of finishes, of offering. It's to not only try to make great offerings for the residents we have, but also to send the signal that, hey, this isn't what you expect here, that you're going to get above and beyond when you come experience Northwest Arkansas. It's to capture people's attention. It's to blow through their myths and misperceptions about the region and get them to look at us differently. If we do the same old, or if we keep, just doing good enough on whatever it is, whether it's, a building we're building, or a restaurant we're opening, or a park or trail, that just kind of helps perpetuate this myth or misperception that we're average at best. So we're really trying to take it up a few notches. If we could figure out this desirability score, we'd be, first or second overall. That's the factor that's keeping us from being ranked as the #1 best place to live in the U.S. according to the U.S. News and World Report ranking. Let's see. See if I can go to the next slide. There we go. So we got a lot to offer. We great outdoor natural setting, great people, authentic people, humble, hardworking folks, but a lot to offer in the region. And it's led to some pretty amazing stats. And also, if you've heard me speak before, you know that I'm pretty stat heavy. So I'm trying to dial that back a little bit, and I'll just give you a couple. But if you look at the top 100 metros in the United States, we're growing faster than most of them, almost all of them, which means we're going up the population list. I think at last time I looked, we were the 106th largest metro in the US, but because we're growing faster than everybody ahead of us on the list almost, we'll be in the top 100 in no time. That's if you average out or take the total population growth in a year and you divide by the number of days, we're still growing by about 32 net new residents per day every day. I love that stat. And then this one, I think, is one of the most important ones. And I know we can see it on this call when you think about the, range of places that people are here from. Ted at the top of the call said he moved here from Minnesota. So he's already called out that he's moved in from somewhere else, but more than half of our residents have moved here from other states, territories, and countries. And I think that's really important. Makes the place more interesting, makes the place more diverse, brings different views and perspectives and ideas. But it also says to me, hey, there's something here that's really sticky, and we're getting it right when people move here, even if they, in some cases, move here reluctantly. Once they get here, they feel connected, they feel pulled into things, and they're able to become a part of the community in a way that makes them want to stay. That percentage of move-ins is higher than the percentage of out of state or out of country or territory move-ins in Austin. It's higher than the percentage of out of state move-ins in New York City. It's higher than the percentage of out of state move-ins in Seattle. So again, we're off the charts when it comes to share of our population that have moved here from somewhere else. That trend is only increasing. Y'all got any questions yet? I already put some people to sleep. I should look over in the people who have their camera on. Okay, no questions. All right. Well, what's driving the population growth and the economic growth? A lot of it is we got a great economy. I'll talk more about quality of life, which I think is the other key factor, and it's becoming even more of a factor. But from the economic perspective, we're home to 3 Fortune 500 companies. Our region has more Fortune 500 companies than several entire states. And we know about Walmart, biggest retailer in the world, usually Fortune 1 or Fortune 2. Well, Tyson Foods, it's also headquartered here, and they're in around Fortune 70. They are a massive company too, but here next to Walmart, they're a little bit smaller size, well, significantly smaller size, but we can't forget in almost every other metro, they'd be the biggest company in that metro. So we just got some massive industry leaders headquartered here, and to have 3 of them plus so many suppliers, plus so many other really strong homegrown companies here in the metro, we've got a great concentration of management and headquarter talent in our region compared to any other metro. We have 6 times the U.S. average of headquarters and management employees in our metro compared to an average metro, and those are high-paying jobs. They've been stable jobs during the last 2 economic downturns for the most part, compared to some of the other industries. Well-educated folks in those positions, top talent are in those roles. So by being so heavily weighted and concentrated with headquarters and management jobs, it yields a lot of benefits. The folks have discretionary income. They demand quality of life offerings that they were used to in the markets that they moved in from. They value education. They invest in the community. It's just a really great virtuous cycle when you have such a high concentration of talent in your marketplace. The supplier community, same thing. That's 6,000 or 7,000 workers in our within the metro area, and that's the top talent for all those companies because they're bringing their A players here because they want their best talent here to work with the large customers that are here. And so some of those people move in, some of them love it, some of them want to stay. the more we capture, the better. And then they become Northwest Arkansans, and the cycle continues. So this is a key reason for why we've been so successful over the last 3 decades. We're starting to spark great startups that are scaling. We've got some that have scaled and then sold, and we've got a lot more momentum in that regard as well, thanks to a lot of people on this call.
Yeah, Mike, wouldn't you say also the great work that the council did with Uvalde, and then you later got the region ready so that they could continue to serve those headquarter companies? If you think about it, well, a company half the size of Walmart, or a third or fourth, they'll have other regional offices or kind of semi-headquarters spread across the country. And we were fortunate enough to continue to meet the needs, right?
That's always been the goal, that you have such great flagship companies. You got to make sure you're supporting them, but how do you not overburden or over tether yourself just to them for forever? How do you build the economic or the ecosystem so that you can diversify the economy over time, but you can't forget the horses that are running the fastest in the race either. So we've always tried to balance that, and it, at times it's a push-pull, but I think for the most part there's plenty of opportunity to go around. And I think the big companies love it when they see spin outs and other things taking root here, because that just makes it a more interesting, more diverse economy. It's going to help the big companies, and the startups and the companies that are scaling certainly can benefit from the talent and the knowledge and the expertise, exposure and customer base from the bigs. So I think it can be win-win, but we've got to be conscious of continuing to foster that, both for the bigs and for the
right. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay, well, what I'll talk now about is really what we're focusing on at Runway Group, which again, that's kind of the parent company for Tom and Steuart Walton's investments and their work across the region. We've got a number of different affiliates and companies and partners we work with, but they're in the areas of for-profit investment, civic engagement, and philanthropy. And then what I'll show you next are a few of the focus areas of our work. If you're familiar with Runway Group or know about some of our work, I bet you know a lot about our focus on cycling and outdoor recreation, but I just use the header cycling here. It's a real effort to take the natural attributes that we have, the great climate, kind of year-round opportunity for riding, the rolling terrain, great outdoor settings where you can build trails and get people out to trails easily from where they live or from where they work. And how do we take those natural attributes and build it into something that's going to make us known and help us attract talent and retain residents? And so with that investment in building trails and building cycling related organizations and events and promoting it all, we've even trademarked, we needed a little TM next to the mountain biking capital of the world phrase, because Bentonville has trademarked themselves as the mountain biking capital of the world. A few other communities would take question with that, but it really was a great marketing move. It captured a lot of attention among bikers and bike publications, and it's aspirational. We've got some of the elements that you'd expect at the capital of the world, but it's also helped kind of crystallize or focus what we need to do to continue to build in and get it to the point where everybody says, oh yeah, you are the mountain biking capital of the world. Rather than debate it, we'll have them all coming here and saluting. So but we're doing a lot of different things. Oz Trails is a promotional brand as well that If anywhere you go where mountain bikers are, you'll see hats, you'll see stickers, and Oz Trails is really an iconic thing. So much so that now, uh, on an evening, if we're driving or uh, kind of looking to the west, and it's one of these colorful sunsets, anyone in my family now says, "Oh, look, it's an Oz Trail sunset," because that it immediately flashes our minds to this brand and this logo. So um, I've already said some of this, but we're building a lot of trails. Northwest Arkansas, over 500 miles of trails when you add the paved trails plus the mountain bike trails. And we're doing it at a pace of about 2.7 new miles of trail a week. Um, Cycling overall, the Walton Foundation found adds 137 million to the regional economy. And some of that's through making people healthier, folks live longer, health benefits, and some of that's direct economic benefit to bikes being sold, uh, food and beverages being sold, bike apparel, bike equipment, Oz Trails hats, those kind of things. The other really interesting thing, it's the fourth item on this list, is Walmart's building their new home office campus in Bentonville. And they announced as part of that a real ambitious goal where they want 10% of their associates that are going to work at that campus to get to work each day through alternative transportation or active transportation. That might be biking, it might be walking, it might be a scooter or something like that. But they've got a very deliberate goal, and so as they build out their new campus, they planned it and they're starting to build it. They're putting in physical infrastructure and thinking about what they need to offer from a HR perspective to make sure that they're able to reach this goal. You can't just say you're going to do it. You've got to offer the trail connections to where associates live. You've got to offer flexible off schedule options for people that can't ride on a particular day, or if the weather's bad, they need to work remotely. They've got to offer end of ride. So when people get to work, the showers, the lockers, the bike storage options that make it easy for people to do this. And so it's a really deliberate, really comprehensive effort to try to transform how people get to work and how they get around for work. So anyway, we're going big on cycling for sure. This is another area that is certainly a passion for some of my bosses and other members of the Walton family, but we're really attacking it because we feel like it's a way for Northwest Arkansas to differentiate from a lot of other metros, just like cycling. But aviation's one where if you're passionate or into aviation, we want to make it easy and affordable and accessible for people to connect with aviation in whatever way makes sense for them. So for businesses, it may be creating an environment for testing of drone transport of packages. And so I think you see Walmart piloting some things around Northwest Arkansas, and the state has been a good partner, and certainly local communities as well, and trying to figure out how, from a business perspective, we can use air mobility to advance the business goals. We've been doing a lot of development around aviation and recreational aviation, trying to bring people into airports and to be in and around planes. One of my bosses owns an aircraft manufacturing facility. So here in Northwest Arkansas, we're making planes at Bentonville Airport. A company's called Game Composites, and they make stunt planes. And it's one of the only aircraft manufacturers authorized by the FAA in the last couple of decades. And it's right here in Northwest Arkansas, creating jobs and growing the economy of our region. And so between Thaden Fieldhouse and Game Composites and a restaurant that we've opened at Bentonville Municipal Airport called Louise, it's a great diner and brunch spot. The goal is to bring people in and connect them with aviation in an affordable, accessible way. Any questions on that? That's the only slide I've got really on aviation. I can talk more about it for sure.
Hey, Mike, Walter Burgess from Central Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
A lot of our communities have small regional airports, like here in Saline County. How would you recommend that we make those small airports economic development engines for our region or our communities?
That's a great question. Um, I'll tell you some of the things we've done at Bentonville, and that is, Bentonville Municipal Airport's not a big airport. It's not a long runway for sure, and it's at this point the town has kind of grown around it. So you've got apartments and homes on different sides of it, and you've got highways around it as well. And so, and there was a fence, a chain link fence surrounding it. So what we try to do is just figure out some ways to draw the community in and create some better connections. So we built a new field house with an exhibit hangar and a restaurant in it. We helped build a park around it, and the city's been a great partner in developing a park right next to the airport. And so the idea of those kind of things are, even if you've got neighbors who may not like the airport noise, we've created some offerings and connections to help people come have a good experience on their airfield. These are taxpayer supported offerings, and want to make sure that they're invited in. And so that's created a lot of goodwill, a lot of enthusiasm. People come for brunch, they watch planes take off and land, and next thing you know, they're on the wait list to train as a pilot, or they might want to join the aviation club that's housed there at the field house. So from a community engagement perspective, we've done a lot of things just to make people understand this taxpayer funded airport is a resource that they should come participate in or be a part of. And then around the airfield, and I think that's where a lot of where your question may have been going, is working with the city or the airport owner to make sure that industrial opportunities are available both immediately adjacent to the airfield or in the vicinity, and then going and recruiting some of those industries. And it's easier said than done, but we're doing some of that. We founded one of these companies on our own, and so that we were able to do that and site it at the airport, but we're also trying to recruit some more as well. And that, you got to package that up just like any economic development recruiting. And, you've got to play to your strengths. And so we are doing some promoting around advanced air mobility and how this would be a good site for that, with drone testing and the logistics expertise that we already have in the region, the composite manufacturing that we do at our manufacturing facility. But we're selling that we've got all these attributes here already, come be a part of it. And again, it's economic development recruiting, and you're selling your strengths. But I think airports can be an amazing development opportunity for sure. Aviation, aeronautics is Arkansas's #1 export, even bigger than ag. So a lot can be done. We're also really focused on art. Well, let me say one more thing. We think, unlike a lot of those other bigger metro areas that are ranked ahead of us in population, we can get people aviation opportunities. We can get them trained. We can get them into planes. We can offer charter services much easier and affordably than they could get in a bigger market. Say you work at Amazon in Seattle and you think, man, I'd like to learn how to fly. It's a hassle to get to the airport. You're going to overpay. You're going to be on a wait list. It's just, the airspace is crowded and congested. It's just, if you want to be a pilot, that's hard to do. If you're working at Walmart and you have, a hankering to become a pilot, that's pretty easy to scratch that itch or explore that here, because the airport's in town, the rates are affordable. We've even got a flying club where you can join and have by the hour use of aircraft. to also get people, once you graduate and get a pilot's license, to get you in a plane. And so we think it's a quality of life or talent play, very much so, compared to a lot of these other regions that we're competing with. Same thing with art. Middle part of the US until Crystal Ridges came along, nobody thought about it as kind of where you'd go to view great works of art or experience art scenes. Some of the bigger metros in the middle of the country, Chicago, Minneapolis, Dallas, had good art museums, but for a region of our size, between the concentration of Crystal Bridges, the Momentary, which I just put up on the screen, and then a lot of the local artists that are producing and doing their thing right here in the community. We've got a really robust art scene, and we need to scream that out and be known for it. And I think people are really starting to discover it more and more. We make grants for programs to help with local artists, both for commissioning work, but also to do things like help them with website development and how to market their offerings in the community through the Artist 360 initiative. That's a grant program that we support. You know about Crystal Bridges. This is a Momentary, which opened last February. And when the pandemic's over, I know it's just going to really be a popular spot. It already is, even with the capacity limitations. They've got some great new exhibits coming next month. That on top of that tower there is the cocktail bar with the best views around, I think. You can see Oklahoma and Missouri from there. Great offerings as well. So the art scene is really good and growing. One project I'd mention, I wish I had a slide in here, but it was a statewide project called Arkanvas, ARKANVAS. And it was a program to put up a series of, I think, 11 murals around the state of Arkansas on buildings in Stuttgart, a basketball court in Pine Bluff, a building near some bike trails in north of downtown in Hot Springs, Fort Chaffee, and Fort Smith, some in Bentonville, all around the state. And the idea was to create some of these outdoor art offerings. We brought in major muralists from really around the world to do this over the last few months. It was in the third and fourth quarter of last year, but at a time when a lot of people couldn't be inside or couldn't travel to go experience art, the idea was, well, let's do a statewide offering and put art on walls and create some outdoor art galleries. And so that was an initiative that we supported, and it was a fun project to do. I hope some of y'all have experienced. There's a website for it under the banner Arkanvas. We run a hospitality company because great communities need great gathering spots. And Bentonville, when we got started with our hospitality company that's named Rope Swing, we had some good restaurants, but there weren't a bunch of them. And so we went about adding to the offerings from a culinary or hospitality perspective. We've also added some gathering spots where you can have meetings or conventions or weddings and those kind of things. Those are the different brands that we operate right now. Down there at the bottom, I'll show you some pictures too. The top left is the offering at the Bentonville Airport. So I was talking about, we built a restaurant to invite the public in to their own airport and to have them come in and enjoy it and experience it. And that's a picture of Louise in the top left corner. Top middle is the Record, which is an old car dealership that used to be a Benton County newspaper where the printing press was, and now it's in a multi-purpose event venue in downtown Bentonville. Top right is a Blake Street House. It's a private club, a membership club that offers fitness, wellness, also great speakers, great entertainment, restaurant inside there as well, and a really nice pool, outdoor pool and outdoor patio scene. So that's the Blake Street house. Bottom left is a preacher's son, James Beard award-winning design restaurant in downtown Bentonville, built in an old church. Bottom middle is the Co-op Ramen, or Coop, some people say. It's coming back. I don't know which date it's going to open, but by popular demand, it will reopen. It closed during the pandemic because restaurants had a tough go of it for sure. And the others are just some images from around. But again, these are the range of offerings, and we try to focus not only on the quality of the food, but the look and the feel and the customer experience in every place that we build. And I think these images show that well. You check the time. I probably need to wrap it up. So I'll show you a couple of our real estate projects. This is a ton of our work right now is in the real estate investment area. We help develop the H Street Market in Bentonville. We're doing a bunch of multifamily developments, or we're partnered in or playing a role in some cases on multifamily in Bentonville. Top left, ground has been broken on this. City U is just the informal name. It'll probably have a different formal name, but that's right next to the Momentary. It's near where the new Walmart home office is going to be. Crystal Flats is taking leases now, and it won't completely be done, but the buildings that are done, they're leasing up, and excited about that one. That one's near the entrance to Crystal Bridges. Down at the bottom, this one's open and completely leased, and at times has a wait list, and that's the Red Barn development. And again, we weren't the lead developer on all these, but we've been supportive or partnered in different ways on some of them. And the idea here is, if you're going to be a place where you want to attract talent, you got to have a range of housing options. You can't just have single family homes and subdivisions. If you're attracting talent that's moving in from cities or larger areas, some want these live work settings, and this is an offering that's needed in a growing community with a diverse resident mix. Let's see if I can get it to change. There we go. Sorry, was there a question? Okay, this is another project we're not the lead developer on, but it's something that we've been supportive of and we're certainly cheering for. This is in downtown Bentonville. It was originally announced it was going to be a WeWork affiliated development, but at this point, it's still going forward, still, same kind of concept, open workspace. There'll be some offices, but individuals could also lease space here. Very versatile space. But and partially one of the architects on the team is Northwest Arkansas's own Marlon Blackwell. He's been very involved in this as well. AIA gold winning architect, Marlon Blackwell. But what's really cool about this building is we think it's the only building in the world where you can ride your bike all the way to whatever floor your office is on. So it plays with the cycling friendly theme. You don't have to have a car. You don't even have to get on the elevator. You can just bike up to the 5th floor if you want to. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Then we're sorry.
Beautiful building.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Mm-hmm. And they're working on that. There are 2 cranes right now in downtown Bentonville, and they're at that site. And then we're doing a lot of investing. One of our greatest attributes is the great outdoor recreational offerings in the region. We've already talked about biking and trails, but we're investing in parks in a really significant way. Kohler is a mountain bike preserve in West Bentonville. This is a picture of that. There's a diner or cafe in there that you can only get to by walking or biking. You can't drive your car to this cafe. And on weekend days, there's a line out the door. It's that popular because there's so many people taking advantage of the park and the trails that are in the park. Osage Park is going to be next to Bentonville Airport. This is one, it's not a great image. I grabbed it from a city consultant presentation, but downtown Bentonville, we're going to build a pedestrian plaza So where A Street is now, and that's Tuscan Trotter over there on the left. The city has a plan to create some more downtown park space. And so it'll be a pedestrian only plaza with outdoor dining, fire pits, gathering spots, still in design, but this is a concept of what it's going to look like. And it'll go from where the ice skate rink is north of 21C all the way down to kind of behind Oven and Tap in that parking lot that's there, which is also being developed into a park. Now, some parking's going away as all this gets developed. So some parking garages are also being built to offset the loss of parking, and there'll be more parking when it's all done. But really excited about, almost all of this is aimed at trying to figure out ways to get people connected into the community, connected in or in settings where they can create their own personal connections with each other outside of the workplace, outside of their homes, but to give people spaces and reasons to gather and sort and mix themselves as part of the community. So those were the focus areas of a lot of our work. There's plenty more projects and examples, but those are the main areas. And I hope I didn't hit them too fast, or hope I didn't dwell on any of them too much either. So what questions do you have about our work or what we're trying to accomplish?
Mike?
Yeah, Sterling.
As I was thinking about this, and going back to your first slide that shows, where we are in the national rankings of great places to live, I couldn't agree more. But that last one that you're trying to overcome, the desirability, I think the first few bullet points are more objectively measured. The last one is more subjective. And so, I'm going to say, okay, well, that may have to do with reputation. You have a reputational challenge, and at the risk of offending anybody, I'm just going to say the problem is at Northwest Arkansas, it's probably the reputation of Arkansas in general as kind of a rural backwater. And, we are an agricultural state. That's what people know us for. I've had people that have come and spent a month in my office from Los Angeles. And that's one of the things they comment on, or, people that come from, let's say, Procter and Gamble. They'll do a rotation out of Cincinnati and come here. Well, the men who are in those roles have to convince their wives, why, come on, give it a try. You'll like it. Because the wives are going, Arkansas. So it's a matter of differentiating Northwest Arkansas from Arkansas. And, I've just got a couple of ideas that you might, explore. One of the great assets you have is you've got the Walton family behind you. They've made big donations to the University of Arkansas and gotten that kind of, built up. It's a better business. The Walton Business School is better business school now than it was in 1977 when I graduated. There's no doubt. But what about, investing in the engineering school to where, you become known as a research university. I mean, if you've got a lot of engineering talent coming out of here, you could become the next little Silicon Valley. That's what Austin's done. So, I see those as a couple of challenges that are not quite so much that you could address outside of the lifestyle, the quality of life issues that you guys are highlighting.
Yeah, really great point. And this past summer, the Walton Charitable Support Organization did make a very significant grant. I should remember the exact dollar amount. I think it was $194 million to build the innovation capacity at the University of Arkansas, and to create more research, better research facilities, to incent research that can be sponsored by or that helps support and connect with industry. And to help us be known as a research institution, even more than we are in some areas already. The University of Utah, as I understand, and the state of Utah have run a similar play with a focus on commercializing research and innovation through the University of Utah, and ramped up the number of engineering degrees and computer science degrees. And that's had a clear and measurable impact on job creation, new company creation in the state of Utah. And so the grant over the summer was um, in large part to help promote that or grow that. It wasn't specific to engineering, but there are some research areas that cross-cut the entire university that are inherent strengths or core capabilities. Like material science is already a strength, and so this is meant to provide more resources to focus there. There were a couple research areas. There were 5 named in the grant, and a couple of them were stretch or ambitious goals where we got some capabilities, but resources are needed to help really build them out. And so that was a play, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not in. I didn't mention it as part of the Runway Group work, but the Walton Charitable Support Organization has focused on that for sure.
Yeah, and Sterling, Ross Duvall talks a lot about that, and it's helped the Waltons craft that grant. And the key to that is getting those kind of people that there's researchers who will build things, will work on things that can be commercialized. And that is where we need to make a lot of headway. It's hard to find anywhere, but if you can find them and having the leadership that has that mentality, and I think that will come about if it hadn't already. I know Ross was real focused on that key person at the top of that.
Yeah, he's been very involved.
Yeah, great point, Sterling. Other questions or thoughts before we go to Dr. Joe? Yes, yeah, Kathy.
Yeah, desirability and subjectivity. There are some things that Arkansas can do to change that. And one of those would be what's really top of mind right now is hate crimes legislation, being one of only 3 states that doesn't have that. Where are y'all? I'm sure you're doing something about that, but what?
Yeah. Well, and if we changed the time so we could listen to the governor, and the governor certainly talked about that in his address. I imagine you saw that, but we're supportive of that and signed on when it was announced and are advocating for that for sure. That these are reputational issues, and if we're one of 3, or pretty soon we're going to be one of 1 that don't have a hate crime, that just plays into this myth that we're backwater or intolerant, and we've got to do it. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to recruit these companies to the Saline County Airport or Bentonville Airport or talent to work at any of our companies. So we've got to do it. I'm with you. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. Other questions or comments? There's a chat comment that Bo Biddle put up. Bo, are you still there? See, Bo put in the chat. Can you see that, Mike?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah.
Oh, he's one of the natives like me. So we're skewed in our perception.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great point, Bo.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I know the Northwest Council's doing some work on branding and messaging, and even thinking about, how do we refer to ourselves as a region? If we use the term Northwest Arkansas, we got there. Arkansas is right in that name, that brand name. And Sterling, as you said, Arkansas has got some baggage. So I don't know where that work's going to go, but they've been working on that. We tried to figure it out when I was there many years ago and didn't. So I'm glad they're focused on it again. But Even the tagline that I used on the very first slide, "Life works here," that's come out of their process. And I think that does a good job of explaining the place in 3 words. But what our brand name is, I don't know, or how we, what we call ourselves, but better marketing through both ambassadors and spokespeople, and maybe a formal campaign is needed for sure. But we also have to build some of the assets and attributes here. You can have a great campaign, but if the truth on the ground isn't consistent with that campaign, then it's not going to work. And so we think we've got the truth on the ground. Now we need to tell the world about it.
Which brings me to my last question, Mike. Do you happen to know this this gentleman from Maine that's elected to the House? His name is Angus something. He's on 60
Angus
Minutes.
King. Yeah.
He's an independent, Mike, you know?
Yeah. I worked with his son. His son worked at the White House when I was there.
I got some money in my back pocket if you're ready to launch your
Really?
campaign as an independent.
Okay. All right.
Whenever
As
you're
an
ready.
independent?
Yeah.
Can an independent win anything here?
I don't know. I think it can. I
Yeah.
think you could. I think you could.
Thank you, Tim.
So we're ready when you are, but we'll let you decide.
Thank you,
I'll
Ted.
vote for him.